Hello everyone and welcome to another Fallout 76 Weapons Spotlight. Today we're going to try something really interesting. A quad, faster fire rate Tesla rifle. This weapon has long been popular as one of the cheesiest of the cheesy PvP weapons due to its high ammo capacity, reasonably high DPS, its ability to hit targets in stealth, and the fact that you don't really even need to aim it. But we're not going to test it in PvP. Anybody who's interested in that already knows how effective and despised it is in that scenario. We're going to take it on our usual farming run and see if it holds up as an everyday weapon for PvE combat. Remember, if you like videos like this one and want to see more, go ahead and get subscribed. There's always a lot more coming on the channel. Now, without further ado, as always, we'll take a look at the weapon and my build, which today I have tweaked a bit specifically for this weapon, but if you just want to skip ahead to the action, I've included timestamps to make that easier. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weapon itself. For this weapon today, we've got a quad Tesla rifle with 25% faster fire rate. It's just a 2-star version. If you could find a 3-star version, some useful 3rd stars might be extra damage resistance while reloading, might be reduced weight because there aren't a lot of mods for this, so it would reduce your weight pretty significantly. But beyond that, you're not really aiming down sights, you're not really using it in VATS. Explosive is actually a detriment on this weapon because what you really want is the ability to chain fire, and if you have one of the old legacy explosive versions, it's good in its own right, but it doesn't accomplish the chained fire, which is the real advantage to this weapon. So, for all intents and purposes, we got a pretty good one here. This was an old find out of a player vending machine back when player vending first started, and I grabbed it for my survival mode character because I'm terrible at PvP, but I liked playing in the mode sometimes, and this helped me survive some fights. But with that said, there's really only 2 mods on here. We've got an automatic barrel, so we don't have to keep pulling the trigger, and it'll work with our commando perks, and a reflex sight, which, it's on there in case I need to aim it, but really we're just going to hip fire this thing. There's not a lot to worry about. It is all energy damage, so you do lose a little bit of armor penetration because of the way that calculates, but it does a pretty good job in most scenarios. You do burn through some ammo using this thing, but the fact that we don't have to reload nearly as often is very helpful. That is really the target that we're going for here, because that's the drawback to the Tesla rifle is it's got a small magazine, so you've got to reload it a lot, and it's a pretty slow reload. So quad is a very, very good effect to have on this. Speeding up the fire rate for faster DPS is even better. Let's go ahead and take a look at the build, and if you're used to my builds, you might want to actually look at this one because I did tweak a couple of things to kind of really synergize well with this weapon, at least I hope so. But let's start with mutations. We've got your pretty standard run-of-the-mill mutations for a commando character here. Adrenal reaction, so we're going to do more damage when our health is low. We're not running this as a bloodied build or a low health build, but I'm not going to be healing every 5 seconds either. So we will get a little bonus damage as our health drops. I think that's good for everybody. Even if you're not going to run a low health build, it doesn't hurt to get a little extra damage when you do get yourself in trouble. We've got bird bones and marsupial, so we can jump high and land softly, boost up our agility, and increase some carry weight, so those are all good things. Eagle eyes, not going to help us all that much today. It gives us more critical damage and extra perception. We don't really need perception or critical damage with this thing because we can just shoot it at the ground and let it kill things for us. But under normal circumstances, that benefits a commando. Egghead gives us more intelligence, so we get more XP. Healing factor is going to heal us up in between fights to save on stim packs. I like that mutation. Some people really don't. It's a matter of personal preference. I like it. Some people don't. You do what you want to do there. Scaly Skin is going to give us a little more damage and energy resistance. And of course, Speed Demon is going to help us move faster and reload faster, which is a factor with a weapon like the Tesla rifle that has a particularly slow reload speed. So that's definitely going to be a factor. Let's now move on and take a look at legendary perks. As I said, this build is normally a full health stealth commando, so follow through is normally a legendary perk that's going to work really well for that build. That makes our enemies take more damage after we land a successful sneak attack. Not really going to be a factor today. Today, we're going to go in loud and hard and just kill everything, so we don't need to worry too much about that. I've also got what rads on this character. Again, full health build. I want to stay at full health. I don't want to deal with rads, so something like this gives me more rad resistance, and more importantly, it restores 1 rad per second. So if we do get radiated, doesn't really make a difference. Legendary Strength and Legendary Luck here are going to let us take some extra perks. I took the Legendary Strength on this character because I want the extra carry weight. Going at full health, you give up the unyielding armor that really gives you a big carry weight boost at low health. Plus you give up Radical, which gives you a carry weight boost at low health, so I do need a little help there. Legendary Luck lets me take a couple more VATS critical perks. And eventually with this build, that will go away. I'll move some things around, but for now, that's where we're at. We'll round things out with Ammo Factory, which is going to help me make more ammo whenever I need to craft ammo. I like having this on all my characters because it's convenient and easy, and I lack the patience to move things between characters on a regular basis. And lastly, we end up with taking one for the team. Now, this is one that I don't typically have on a stealth commando, but I did pop in really just for this weapon. I want to see how effective we can make it. So we're going to run solo, but also as part of a public team. And what this does is it makes enemies take more damage after they attack you. So the goal here is I'm going to go in fast, loud, hard. Things are going to be shooting at me from all over the place. But because I'm chaining fire through multiple enemies, I'm willing to bet this is going to give me a little bit of extra damage when I take on big mobs of enemies. That's my hope. We'll see how it works out. We'll see if it's even noticeable. I don't know that it will be, but that's how we're going to round out the legendary perks. Let's go ahead and take a look at special and the regular perk cards. So what we've got here is a little different than a normal commando build. It's not a perfect build either. Remember that when I initially built this character, I built it to survive in survival mode where there's lots of PvP. So things were a little different than they normally would be. Now I've moved some of those things around, but we're not 100% perfect in a commando build here, but we're close enough for what we need to do today, and I made a few other tweaks that are more specifically tuned to this weapon. But as we can see in strength, I've got 4. Actually need to take another strength perk, but for now we've got Bandolier to reduce the weight of ammo, Traveling Pharmacy to reduce the weight of chems. Because this is a full health build, I don't have all the carry weight that you would normally have with a low health, unyielding build, so we do have to accommodate some of those things. Perception, we've got maxed out at 15, with Tank Killer and Ground Pounder maxed out, 1 point in Concentrated Fire, which we're not really going to use today, but under normal circumstances, I do. All the commando perks are almost maxed out, but we left 1 point off so that we can accommodate both Tank Killer and Ground Pounder for good armor penetration and faster hip fire, better hip fire and faster reloads. Definitely a factor with the Tesla rifle. Endurance, at least for now, is my throwaway stat here. Eventually, some points will get moved out of luck into endurance, so I can take some other things there, and then rely on the legendary luck to boost that up. But for now, it's just a throwaway stat. Charisma isn't entirely different. I only have 3 points in charisma here, and we're going to dedicate all of them to Tenderizer. That's going to make our enemies take a little more damage after we attack them. So it's certainly useful with something like the Tesla rifle that's going to chain fire through multiple enemies. Under intelligence, we've got 6 points for Gunsmith and Scrapper. Gunsmith helps my guns last longer. What can I say? I don't like fixing stuff. I don't like grinding for materials. I don't like doing all those things. That's not fun to me. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this game, any game, is about having fun. So play it how it's fun for you. For me, fun does not include going out and grinding for junk so I can fix my gear or buying repair kits. So we keep that on there, and that helps my sanity a little bit. Scrapper gives me more steel, which is useful for ammo, and again, helps me avoid grinding for things. Under agility, we've got that maxed out at 15. Now, normally, I've got sneak and covert operative and all the things we want to boost up sneak attack, criticals, and help us be more stealthy. Today, stealth is not a factor. We don't need to sneak. That's not really a thing we need to worry about. And so I've removed those and made room for other things. I still kept Escape Artist on simply because if we do find that we get overwhelmed, we can run away, sneak away, get out of trouble, hit the reset button, and go back. But other than that, that's the only sneak-oriented perk we're going to be really working with today. I've got Adrenaline maxed out at 5, so that as we kill big mobs, we see more an increase in our damage. I really like that. We've got Action Boy, so that our AP refreshes quickly. We are going to be probably sprinting around a bit, jumping around a bit. That's going to burn up some AP. And we've got Marathoner, which is going to make sprinting cost less AP, because that's my expectation, is we'll be doing a good bit of it. And then I'm running a perk that I normally never run, and that's Dodgy, where we avoid 30% of incoming damage at the cost of 30 AP per hit. Normally, I avoid this because I run That's Critical builds where I rely on AP, and if I start getting shot at a lot, I'm going to find that I don't have any AP left. So I don't think that's going to hurt us today. I think that's going to be a benefit and help us be a bit more tanky. But ultimately, we'll find out if it becomes a scenario where I find that my AP is constantly running out, then I might switch that out midway through, but we'll see how it goes. And finally, we end up with Luck, which I've also got maxed out. Normally, I'm running lots of VATS critical perks here, but we're not using that today. So we've changed some things around. I've still got Bloody Mess, so we can max out our damage. Class Freak and Starched Genes, so we can keep our mutations, but also mitigate their negative effects. But then I've added a few others. We put on Quick Hands, so we might get the occasional automatic reload, which is very beneficial on a Tesla rifle that has a slow reload. We've got Ricochet, and what that's going to do is reflect back damage from enemies. So if they're shooting at me, that's going to reflect some of that damage back on them and keep me a little bit safer. So that's not a bad thing to have. And then I have 1 point in Tormentor, and the reason for that, normally I don't run Tormentor on rifle builds, but I had an extra point left over, and I thought, you know what, if we're going to be doing kind of low damage and chaining that damage through mobs, if we can cripple some of them along the way, maybe that will be fun, maybe that will be helpful. We'll see how it works out. But either way, that's going to round out our perk cards and special build, and I think we've spent enough time talking about all of that. Let's go to the Whitespring and start killing things. Making our way inside, we'll make sure we're fully loaded here with 60 rounds in the magazine. Just in case there's a Radroach in there, we'll take him out. And here's a good example. You can see the chain fire between the two enemies. And, it takes a few hits to take down a ghoul, but nothing too terrible. But there you can see the slow reload on this weapon. That's where you get caught with it, is if your reload is slow and you've got things mobbing you, that can hurt. But all in all, not too bad. That reload is really slow. I think, maybe I need to swap weapons here. Let's just take a quick look. Yeah, that's really slow. Okay, swap weapon, swap back, fire, reload. Is it faster? Indeed it is. There we go. So any perks or mutations you have that affect reload speed, if you find that it feels a little slow, just swap to something else and swap back, and that usually resets that. So not too bad here, and you can see we're not really aiming. If you aim directly at an enemy, you can do that. It will chain fire between the enemies, but you can also just bounce your shot directly off the ground. Now, a few updates ago, they did reduce the range of the Tesla rifle. From what I understand, I don't think that was... They did that in Nuclear Winter a while back, but I believe they also did it in Adventure Mode at some point too. It's still fairly effective. It still has a pretty good range, but it's not quite as magical as it used to be. But here again, we can see chained fire does a pretty good job. it appears a bit inconsistent. Sometimes it looks like it's doing full damage to everything in the chain. Sometimes it doesn't. Maybe that's just how the damage numbers reflect. Not exactly sure there. Let's turn off that quest marker so it doesn't annoy me through the whole video. And we'll keep shooting here. And you can see your fire chains off of different objects. It is a bit inconsistent with how it works. Your best bet, if you've got a mob full of enemies that are close together, is look directly at one of them, shoot at that enemy, and it will chain to the next one. If you don't have a clear view, then point it at the ground and you should be good to go. Let's head outside and finish cleaning this place up. And we'll get one more on our way out of the building. Must have wandered in from the outside. Anybody over here? No, it doesn't look like it. There's usually one or two running around out here. Use VATS here just to locate some targets. Take care of you. And that cleans that up. This place is good to go. So far, so good with this weapon. Definitely takes a few more shots to kill ghouls than usual, but we also don't have to aim at them. Oh, look, there is one left. Where you at? There you go. I don't even have to look at you. You're dead. Okay, let's head to the deep. Moving down the catwalk as we do. We'll see our liberators start to drop in from the sky and fire chains between them. Easy enough. So really with this weapon, yes, it takes more shots to kill things than with other weapons, but you have the benefit of not needing to aim, and you have the benefit of being able to hit multiple targets with one shot. So it does kind of balance out its efficiency. The other side of this is fusion cells are very common. They're not expensive to craft. You can find them everywhere. They're often sold in player vendors. Let's face it, this game is just lousy with fusion cells, so go ahead and grab up as many of them as you can. That's one of the selling points of this weapon is it's really cheap to fire, really cheap ammo for, and it doesn't take much effort to use. So it does make it a pretty solid general farming weapon, at least from what we can see so far. Take care of you, and we might be overshooting a little bit. We might be spending more ammo than we really need to. But it's hard to tell, so jump down here, take care of the two behind the building. There we go. Power armor. Oh, stagger with the plasma. Okay. And there we go. All right, so yeah, you can see when you're getting like 60 damage per shot, that's not amazing, and that's a lot to do with the way armor penetration works on energy weapons in Fallout 76. But overall, the fact that we don't have to aim kind of makes up for it, so I can't really complain too much. All right, let's see if we can get some targets close together here. Here's two. Yep, chain damage, that's what we like. And there we go. We've got some guys coming down the stairs, or just one. You done? Are you done now? Okay, you're done now. Oh no, that was two. Okay, there were two corpses there. Cool, so we got a 2-for-1 deal. And we've got probably just the 3 on the top level yet. We'll try and change some shots together, because that's what makes this weapon cool, but they're not very close together. So that's not going to work that way. There's our power armor commander. And yeah, you can really see the... So I think, once again, sometimes the chained shots don't do as much damage. Sometimes they do. It's a little inconsistent, but it works pretty well. Now let's put it to a real test and see how we do on a Behemoth. So we're not going to have any other adds here or big mobs. We're just going to have one big tanky super mutant Behemoth. We'll see how we do. We know we don't get a lot of damage per shot out of this weapon. I wonder if shooting it at the water does something. I don't think it really does. So we've hit him, and we're burning through ammo here. You do have a little bit of recoil on this weapon, so when you're trying to aim it at the head like I was there for a minute, it is hard. But there we go. Now we got some headshots. All right, so not super efficient in terms of ammo. We did have to reload there, and this holds a lot of ammo to begin with, but it still wasn't any trouble killing the enemy. We still took care of him. Probably not efficiently enough that I would take this to big boss fights, but let's jump to a Fissure site and see how we handle against a Scorchbeast. We'll, of course, have some Scorched running around here. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. Little quick VATS locator action there. We haven't been using VATS all that much, but with the hills and brush here, it is a little hard to see these guys. Now we've got a nice big pack of them and lots of chained fire. And that's how this weapon works. So, reduced damage, sure, not great damage, but very efficient nonetheless. And fortunately, we have a Scorchbeast who's willing to make poor life choices, and because you hit me, you're going to take more damage now. Thank you very much. Thanks to taking one for the team. And that was pretty efficient. So we burned through a lot of ammo there, but still wasn't too much trouble taking that Scorchbeast down. There is one more Scorched running around here somewhere. And there you are, and there's how you use this weapon. If you aim at the air but don't hit, you won't hit. If you aim at the ground, you will jump from the ground to your target. So that's the key there. Let's finish this thing up in Huntersville with some super mutants. As usual, we'll start with the floaters down near the entrance to the town, and you can see again shooting at the air, not the way to do it. You got to shoot at the ground if you want to chain your fire. If you shoot at the air and miss, you won't do any good with this weapon. Let's head on into town. Let's start with our friend by the water tower. Chain some fire off the ground. So, not super efficient in terms of ammo. Again, can see that. There we go. Missing in the air, hitting from the ground. Perfect. Takes a little bit of practice. I don't run with this weapon a lot, so it does take some practice to get used to not firing directly at your targets. I'm going to try and stir the pot here and get all these guys to run out into the middle of town. We'll try and scare up the ones from the house. Sometimes you can succeed at that, other times they don't really play along, but we're going to try and get them all out in the open here, and yeah, they didn't really play nice with that. So we'll chain our fire off the ground, and you can see here again, pretty effective. Very good. So lots of ammo, but very easy fight. There's no thinking involved. It's just hold the trigger and watch things die, albeit a little more slowly than we're used to watching them. Where'd you go? I saw you come out. Where'd you go? I know you're around here somewhere. Oh, good. We got two right by the door. That makes for an easy target here. Very good. Goodbye to both of you. Sounds like we still have some up on the roof in the house or on the top floor of the house. Do a quick reload from cover and head on in. We will disrupt their domestic bliss. And there we go. Two more dead. We'll head on up the road, finish up with the mutants on this end of town, and then we'll talk conclusions before we wrap it up. Sometimes you see these guys here in the middle of the road, but lately they've been all showing up at the end. Boy and his dog here, and then we'll have one more by the barrier. Easy enough. And one more. There you go. Look how efficient that was. Let's talk conclusions. So what are my overall thoughts on the quad faster fire rate Tesla rifle? Well, we know how effective it is as a PvP weapon. So if you are a PvP player and you have to face people with stealth boys and things like that, very effective there. This is also very effective in your cloaked enemy daily ops where you can't see your enemies. So you can just shoot at the ground and let it chain to whatever's there. Where it falls a little bit short is in overall damage. As we saw with the Behemoth and the Scorchbeast, it takes a lot of ammo to take down those big tanky targets. So that's not a huge problem for those big tanky targets, but if you're taking this to events like Scorched Earth, like Encrypted, big tanky tough boss events, this is probably not the ideal weapon for them. What it is ideal for is events with large mobs of enemies when you want to grind for XP. Because of the nature of the weapon, the fact that it chains through enemies and hits everything, taking a weapon like this to an event like Radiation Rumble, where you've got huge mobs of ghouls everywhere, basically guarantees that you're going to get XP for everything that gets killed, even though you're probably not going to be the one doing most of the killing. This is a great weapon to just tag enemies without killing them. So also good for events like Uranium Fever, where you've got enemies running around and everybody likes to hit them, but they're really squishy. So this lets you tag everything, get your legendaries, do everything you want to do without necessarily being a one-shot killer. So it's got a lot of utility. There's a lot of uses for it. For general farming, as we saw today, it's effective enough. Not the ideal choice for big tanky enemies, but as cheap as the ammo is for it, as readily available as it is, as easy as it is to craft, it's hard to really complain about the fact that you use more of it because it's everywhere. The game is lousy with fusion cells. You're fine. You can use them. You can crank them out. So if you can get your hands on a quad Tesla rifle of any kind, particularly one with a faster fire rate, you're going to do really well with this as a general farming weapon, as a tagging weapon for events. It's also, of course, very effective in PvP, although, you're probably going to get a bad name for running around using a Tesla rifle. It doesn't, as you could see with this, doesn't take a whole lot of skill to run around with a weapon like this. But needless to say, so far, my opinion is good. Now, one thing I didn't show you in this video was the condition bar on the weapon. When I started the run, this was at 200%. It was fully repaired to 200%. When I ended the run, I had lost maybe 20% of that condition. It was down to, probably 180%. So condition was very, very good, despite the fact that we shot it a lot, despite the fact that we chained through a lot of enemies. Condition held up very, very well. Now, that may not always be the case. If we were taking on bigger events with bigger mobs, we might find that we burn through that faster. But for this run, after seeing some weapons that barely make it through the run, to see one that I could probably do this run 20 times over and not need to make a repair, that's comforting to me. But needless to say, overall, good solid weapon. Not ideal for every scenario, but as a general farming weapon, as an XP tagging weapon, this is definitely a good one to grab. So if you see one, get your hands on it. If you get lucky enough to grab one out of a player vendor for around 1,000 caps like I did back in the day, well, that's even better. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to wrap up this video for today. Remember, as always, if you enjoyed it, if you found it useful, be sure to go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Until then, I'm Fisty McRib.